let's do some slides first. So, all right, so we're talking Safari ITP and Click IDs removal. That's a hot topic. I'm sure you guys know. And there was a ton of fear mongering, I would call it, last couple of weeks, maybe last months or something. The result of it is that the Click ID is not actually removed in a normal mode, but we're going to discuss it a little bit further. Uh, as usual, I'm talking to you today. My name's Dan. I'm a data tracking measurement lead at Stape, having done roughly 1,000 server-side tracking implementations, which gives me some credentials to be speaking to you guys today. I have my colleagues Alex and Vlad. They are covering the Q&A, so the chat is closed, like you said, but Q&A is open. Please send your questions there. These two guys will be handling that while I speak. What you get, the usual, there will be a webinar recording available early next week on our YouTube channel, and there will be a follow-up to each one of you with guides and links and everything that's relevant to what we'll be covering today. Session outline is pretty straightforward. Just going to recap quickly on what Safari tracking restrictions are. What do we have happening in ITP and, ITP private mod, cross-domain tracking. Then we're going to look into the Safari Click ID removal situation, discuss the fixes that are available, discuss some future expectations and such, and then, of course, do a live demo of how we deal with this limitation in the private mode. And then, of course, there will be plenty of time for QA. So the most elaborate questions, which will not be covered in chat, we may leave for the live discussion. So I will be responding to those in voice. Right. So this is a pretty cool timeline that our designers have prepared for us here. And as you know, the Safari ITP started back in 2017. There were third-party cookies removed after 24 hours. Then they were removed entirely. Then the first-party cookies got some limitations as well. We actually had a webinar about that. Check our YouTube. This refers to true versus not true first-party cookie in Safari book, right? This refers to cookies being set from the same network, from the same IP range as your website itself. Then, a couple of months ago, this fear-mongering started, and Safari in the beta, in the technology preview, in normal mode in technology preview and in beta in private mode has started to remove the click IDs, known click IDs from the URLs, which raised all this panic, I think, globally, and solutions started popping up, discussions started popping up. There are people that said, well, you don't really have to do nothing. The advertisers, the advertising platforms themselves will be handling that in one way or another, which is partially true. And then 15th of September, Safari 18.6 was finally released, and it still retains click IDs as usual in the normal mode, in the default browsing mode, without even any toggles to enable the feature sort of explicitly or forcefully. Now, I'll jump through these real quick. Again, I kind of mentioned this already. Cookies are shortened by the ITP. There's signal quantity issues in Safari because private mode by default will block the GTM scripts, not our custom loader, but the normal GTM script. And then, of course, since there's no third-party cookies, the cross-domain is something that needs to be handled kind of explicitly. And again, we had a webinar on that, so you can always check it out and see how you can deal with this. This is a good recap of what's happening with click IDs. So far, again, in private mode, we can skip the technology preview, but in private mode, as of right now, as of 15th of September, the gclid, the Google Click ID, will be removed. The Facebook Click ID will be removed. Microsoft Click ID, interestingly enough, is removed, although I don't know how much of the audience cares about Microsoft, really. You can guys do some reactions just so that we can gauge that. Really interesting. And then Twitter Click ID, among other things, which is, again, sort of unexpected. Somehow TikTok, Snapchat, Pinterest, all of that went under the radar. But knowing Apple, there might be an update anytime soon. So we'll keep you guys posted. Solution, as usual, this should not be a surprise, is server-side tracking and the capabilities that server GTM and server-side tracking as a principle gives you. So this is what we're going to be using to bypass all of these limitations. Uh, Again, something you already know, but main objectives of server-side for a business is bypassing all of those restrictions that we just discussed and mentioned. Get cleaner, better control data. Again, this comes from different aspects, from different dimensions. This is like signal quantity, signal quality, cookie lifetime, and of course ensure privacy compliance, because server-side GTM, if you need to, lets you filter out any sort of data that you're sending ultimately to a destination, to a vendor. So you have very good control levers over the data that's being sent. And this is a summary from our marketing team. Essentially, this boils down to use Stape, check our webinars, and you will always be on top of things, on top of industry trends, such as this Click ID removal. So we will always have you covered. Right. Query replacer variable by Stape. This is a fleshy slide. This is the hero of our today webinar. We're going to use it in live demo in a couple of minutes. This is a simple variable for your server-side container, which will do most of the magic that we need to test this out. There's this tip here that our partner, Lars, kudos to him. Not sure if he's in the audience, probably not, has already tested this thoroughly, and he found that on average, 2.2% of Google Click IDs were affected by this removal, meaning that 2.2% of people who click the ads actually use Safari private mode, or potentially something like Brave browser, which also removes those click IDs. And the solution we're going to discuss today will be managing both the Safari private mode and Brave by the same means, essentially. So yay, live demo. Let me close up the slides and switch to our GTM. I am in Chrome so far. I'm going to use it just to do the stuff inside Google Tag Manager. We're going to set up everything here and debug it here. But then, of course, I'll reshare my screen and we'll double check it in Safari and in Brave as well. Now, the principle of what's happening with the Click ID removal, I have a handy article here, is when you open any sort of URL, like my dummy store here, Stape events, if I have a Click ID in the URL, let's say gclid, I'll put test. As normal, it opens up and my conversion linker fires, and we ultimately set the gclid cookie, right? This is Chrome, there's no limitations, so everything is as usual. Since we're using server-side, our Click ID cookie is fbclid, right? So first-party Google Click ID. And you can see the value is test, and this is buried down here in between K and the $sign. So this is test. This is, again, just recapping the basics. This is all working. Now, what happens in Safari, and I should probably reshare my screen just so that we can go through that. Just give me one quick second. Let's do Safari. One sec, guys. Documents, applications, windows. This is my Safari. Okay, sharing Safari now. This is in private mode. You may have noticed. I don't really use Safari like at all. So there's no configuration I've did. There's no tweaks. This was just updated as part of the system update, and I just opened the private mode. Literally did no configuration or anything. So here's how the removal looks like. If I open my store with the gclid in the URL, and okay, it's Safari, so let's be smarter, like this, and I append the gclid into the URL, you will see that I will land without any gclid, meaning none of my my conversion linker will not fire. There's no gclid. There will be no cookie set with my click ID. We can do the same for, let's say, Facebook Click ID. Also put it as test, and we will land without nothing. But the moment we do something stupid like not a gclid, that query parameter actually remains in place. This doesn't. So you can see the matching that Apple does is not even like a regex or anything. It's specifically the gclid ID so that they don't touch any of your other query parameters. This probably gives you an idea of how we're going to address this, how we're going to do our workaround. We will essentially replace our click ID names with something else so that when I click on an ad, uh, the uh, the query parameter still sticks, and then our conversion linker can do the thing. So let me switch back to Chrome real quick, and we'll do the thing. Right. So back in Chrome, and the first component required for this sort of fix, and you can safely call this like a hacky sort of a fix, is we need to ensure that when somebody clicks on our ad, that we actually append that custom parameter, whichever it might be. And Google Ads in particular gives you that ability. I am let's go into Google Ads, I guess. We have the time. Let's open some account. I will do ads webinar. That's appropriate. All right. And let's just like follow the guide. We want to go Google Ads account, admin, tracking tab. Let's do that. Admin, and there's no tracking tab. Interesting. Well, something was supposed to go wrong. Account settings. Okay. Admin, account settings. Yeah. Protect me from unauthorized activity. Okay, Google. All right, let load. All right, so here it is, tracking, no option set. There's a tracking template, and there's the final URL suffix, right? And we can do parameter equals, and assign names to it. Again, this article will be shared with you. You can also find it in our blog. So everything I'm doing here is very straightforward and available to you. So yes, what we can do is we can say always append to our URL. Well, let's be dummies about it. Let's do that, not gclid, right? Just for the sake of having some fun. Obviously, that's probably not something you want to do. Ideally, for the sake of, protecting yourself in the future and such, you want to do some gibberish, something very unique. But I'll do not gclid just for fun. And we're going to reference gclid like this. This will essentially populate it with the value of the Google Click ID. So what we'll end up having on actual ads, on actual campaigns, if I had any, would be the following. We will have our Google Click ID in a native parameter, like here, gclid equals this, and also our custom parameter with the same value, because we've referenced gclid here, as you've seen, right? This essentially what enables the sort of the hack in question. So now we can expect that each time that somebody clicks on an ad, they will actually come in with two parameters. They will have the gclid and not gclid uh, with the same value. In my case, this is a test, right? So something like this will be occurring in the wild. And of course, Safari will remove the gclid part, but it will not touch this. And this is the premise of the hack, again, that we're going to do. Now, we literally don't need the web container for this. There's nothing for us to do here except for already having our GA4 sending some page views, because we only care about the click ID setting for the purposes of this webinar. So all I need to have is GA4 firing page views to my server container. This is already in place. There's no specific settings. I have my measurement ID, my server container URL, and send page view set to true because I was lazy to do a separate tag. Now this is published and in place, so we can literally close it up. I will double check real quick in the network for my subdomain to make sure there's actually signal going on and I have the correct container, which is true. We have some encoded G4 requests going to my server. Lovely. So now for the hack itself, let's follow the manual. Step number 2, set up query replacer in SGTM. This is a gallery template, so we will just go ahead and edit from the gallery. This is a variable template, so we're going to search that. All right, and let's type query replacer, and edit to workspace. Now, what this variable does is pretty simple. It will look at, oh, sorry, this is query parameter. I apologize. Query replacer, this. Okay, so what we're going to do, what this variable does, I'm sorry, is it looks at your page location event data parameter, right? This is common event data, so the G4 will send it, our data tag will send it, everything will send it at all times, and we can sort of use that. So the variable is pre-built. It makes things easier for you. But the point I want to drive home here is that you can use anything else that would achieve the same situation. Situation being, we're going to replace our gclid in our case with not gclid. So, and when, let's call it something actually, query replacer gclid. Now, when a page location occurs on any event, the gclid, this variable will return your page location, but with the gclid replaced by not gclid parameter, not touching the value, saving the value and everything, just the names of the parameters will be different. I will also click this checkbox. This is fairly important. What it does, if the URL already contains a parameter matching from with this column, the parameter specified in the replace column will not be touched, right? This is just to avoid sort of double replacing, and to, again, probably no issues will rise from this, but just to be safe and just to be sort of clean, just do it, just pretty much do it. I don't expect you to have this parameter by any other means that you're replacing situation, but again, better safe than sorry, so let's do it like this. Right, let's actually see it in action real quick. And like I said, this is just a variable we offer. You can do it with custom code. You can do it with some other variables that do the same. It's essentially just replacing a piece of a string in a page location parameter. Right, while the preview is loading, not sure why it takes this much time. Okay, funny. Okay, now it's on. All right, so let's see that we have some events. We do. And I actually already had the not gclid here, right? But this would fall under that specific condition that I already told you about. So if we look, here's our page location, the standard event data. So Stape events, gclid equals not gclid equals. The variable itself, the query replacer, has not done anything, again, because we ticked that checkbox, and since both parameters are the in URL, meaning this is Chrome, so gclid was not removed, there's nothing for it to do, right? However, if we do it like this, if we remove the gclid, sorry, and look at that different page view, now gclid was without a, oh, funny. Okay, so not gclid is there, gclid is empty. Again, because this is Chrome, so, you know, this doesn't matter. The point is, the point should be this, actually. Let's do this, guys, just to make sure I understand everything correctly. Right, I do. So this is gclid, and we've done it previously with a not gclid, and this is good. Okay, now, before we proceed, the final piece of the hack is to do a transformation essentially. And the transformation following our manual here is we're going to replace the normal page location event data parameter with this query replacer thing of ours. And we're going to do it only for the conversion linker. So let's go ahead and whip that up quickly. We're gonna use transformations, create a new one, do augment event. We're gonna say that affected tags is include tag types. We're gonna say conversion linker, and there's no matching conditions. We don't really care. We will just replace our page location again, standard event data. We're going to replace it with our query replacer gclid, right? And let's call it transformation restore gclid, right? Everything is in place. Everything is according to the manual here. Now, let's go ahead and save this. It's just as a double check. Conversion linker, yes, correct. And we have our normal conversion linker already in place. This is somewhere here. This has no specific settings. This just fires on our GA4 as per usual. And we have the transformation now attached to it. So let's see it in action. Okay, preview is running. And let's do a test. So let's assume I'm coming with not gclid. And let me just check the spelling of it real quick, because I tend to do these mistakes a lot. So we had it in variables. And query replacer this. So we're replacing, oh, okay, of course I screwed up, right? So we're replacing this with this, actually. It's vice versa. So we're going to look at this parameter and replace it with the actual gclid parameter. Apologies. These blunders always happen on live presentations. I'm sure you can relate. So let's save that up. It's a good thing I did that check. Let's relaunch the preview because we did some changes. And yeah, so we're going to fire a simple page view, not gclid, in our URL, just to showcase the sort of, that it's working. Then we'll switch to Safari and see it in action, of course. So if we look at our conversion linker and we open the modified event data, this is the table that's showing the transform data right after the transformation. You can see that our page location contains gclid equals test, although my non-transform data, my original, is containing this, not gclid test. So the hack has essentially worked since conversion linker has the parameter that it expects for setting the cookie in the page location. It will set that cookie properly, right? And we can even see it here already. My FPG claw will have that test, although I have opened this without any gclid in the URL. Let's publish this and go check what's going on in Safari. Let's be proper about it. This is gclid replacer, I guess. All right, this is now live. Good. Now we can switch to Safari again. Safari private browsing mode. Password. Really? Okay. The first time I'm seeing this, I guess, but huh.
Maybe
One
this
second,
is the
guys.
password from your laptop, when you want to install a new app on your Mac.
Yeah, it is. It's just that my keyboard didn't work. All good. Thank you. Right. So we are here. Just let's open the page as is. Let's make sure that we don't have any prior cookies so that I'm not like lying to you guys. We're looking for fbgclw. That's not here. Good. So we have a fresh everything. Of course we do because this is private mode and we just opened it up. Okay, now let's do that test live. We don't have any previews or anything. We published the container. So let's do not gclid equals, and let's do something more recognizable than test. So let's do something like test, test, test. So this is very, very visible. And all right, so here we have fired some request. This is GE4 encoded to our server container, which means we can assume that the conversion linker has fired in the background on the server. So now let's look at the cookies. And here we are, FBG claw with my test underscore test and everything, although the click ID itself will always be removed. And there you go. That's the entirety of the hack, essentially. So any platform, and in this case, let me switch back to Chrome real quick. All right. So any platform that lets you reassign click ID, reassign the name of the click ID parameter, or reference the value of your click IDs that are normally generated, of course, is sort of subject to this hacking procedure, and you can bypass the limitation of Safari and Brave, which I'm going to show in a second, just to reconfirm. But you can apply the same approach, right? So in here, this works for Google Ads because Google Ads lets you rename those click IDs, like we've shown you. It actually also works for Microsoft because Microsoft has the same similar principle where you can reassign the click ID to a different parameter. There's none of that in Twitter. So, well, while we say we're working on it, we'll see. This depends a lot on the platform. There's none of it available for Facebook whatsoever. Like that's not a thing. So until that's introduced by Facebook, if it ever will be, we cannot quite apply this hack. But your Google Ads already are covered. Your Microsoft Click ID already is covered. Most of your affiliate tracking, if Safari ever gets to that, will also be covered because most of the affiliates let you control that parameter from the get-go. You might not even need a hack because in affiliate tracking tags, a lot of times you already have baked in specify the query parameter to look for the click ID, right? And since it can be custom, you can always dance around the limitation. Now, real quick, let's look at Brave just so that we can confirm it. One quick second. Where's our Brave? Application Windows. Oh, here it comes. Okay, so this is Brave browser. This is the thing that blocks consent banners by default. So I don't know how relevant this is in the long run, but ultimately, if we do the same store, the gclid gets removed, as you can see. But if we do not gclid, this is not removed. So, and if we then go and check the cookies and such, right here, there's our FPG claw with a test, this case, working beautifully in Brave browser. Assuming your consent banner is not blocked or you don't run one, the hack is applicable, can be done, so all good. Okay, and I think that pretty much concludes it. There's not much else to say besides, I think, it's a fairly informed and sort of organic assumption and expectation that since Safari did this in technology preview, it's very, very likely they're going to eventually release it into normal mode and do it by default, same like Brave browser does. So even though this may not be as critical of a thing, so all of that fear mongering, which I mentioned, wasn't quite right. You can prepare yourself for the future. The fix will take you a couple of minutes. We did it live with you guys. It doesn't have negative like side effects or anything like that on your campaigns. The normal gclid and everything will still be there, so you should not expect any losses or anything like that. And then we have that stat from Lars, 2.2% in his sort of findings. On average, we see roughly I mean, again, of course, it depends on the industry, it depends on your website, on your audience, but I think on average, it's about like 5% of people are using private mode in Safari, like actively, sort of as a default. So again, what that means for your audience remains to be seen. But since the fix is that easy, that simple, if you're running server-side Google Tag Manager, it doesn't make sense for me not to apply it. So I think you should. And yeah, that concludes the demo part. So let me stop sharing and check that QA. Perhaps that's something, perhaps there's something interesting to see. What a silly thing from Safari. Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, it's kind of funny. It's a, it's a colloquial term at this point. There's a cat and mouse game between like Apple and Google, or rather Apple and us in principle. By us, I don't mean Stape. I mean everybody who's gathered here, everybody who cares about this kind of thing. So yeah, definitely, this is funny, but I think that is a kind of course that they're not going to change. So you can expect more of this cat and mouse going forward. What exactly is influenced by the gclid and what not? What exactly influenced by the gclid is your attribution of your conversions to a campaign. Like Google has other mechanisms. There's the braid cookies, there's the PII in enhanced conversions, but the most straightforward is gclid. So it's directly responsible for attribution of your conversions. Alan, what if Tim Cook will see the webinar and will add some regex to their solution to address gclid removal? Well, I mean, yeah, but again, you can do whatever, right? It doesn't have to contain gclid there. So don't do a regex, name it something crazy. And again, cat and mouse, like I said, right? They whip up some restrictions. We come out with workarounds. Does it make sense? I don't quite know. That's a philosophical sort of question, but in principle, that's what we have. How can we justify this legally? There's absolutely no legal implications here. What Safari is doing has nothing to do with privacy laws, GDPR, or anything like that. This has nothing to do with consent. This is just a functionality of a browser. It's absolutely legal to have a gclid, so you're not breaking any laws or anything like that. What you're breaking is maybe Safari's expectations. Is there any forecast for meta ads? So the official communication is that the official communication is kind of a cop out one, right? It says pretty much we're going to be carefully looking at what's going on. We're going to be monitoring the situation. And of course, we will ensure advertisers will not be affected, yada, yada, yada. I think, and this is speculation purely, like don't quote me on it. I think if Facebook does anything in the end, this will probably not be this sort of hacking and allowing you to replace Facebook Click IDs. It will be something internal that they do with their, machine learning and all that other goodness to kind of compensate for it. Similar how they did back when iOS was released, they did sort of modeling, right? With don't remember the name. Maybe the guys from QA can help me out here. So bottom line is, I don't think they will do what we just showed to you. They will probably compensate for it somehow on their backend without your explicit, you know, without you explicitly doing anything. Why can't you do the same thing in the web container? I mean, you can't execute transformations. That's the correct answer, but you can apply the same principle if you wanted to. But then again, if you want to do it on the web, you already have so much limitations on the web, including cookie lifetime in Safari and such, that it makes it a moot point, I believe. Like if you're only doing client-side tracking still, you have much more bigger issues than the click ID removal to address to kind of stay relevant with your campaigns. How would this work for an account that still also uses the conversion linker in the client container? I understand it's not needed client side since use Google tag for Google, since the use of the Google tag for Google Ads since the April 10th, but still many people use it in their client side containers. Well, if so there's like a fork here, right? If they use the client side conversion linker and the server side conversion linker, well, they shouldn't. If if that's the case, I mean the client side one will just do nothing. The server side the fix we shown would kick in, apply the thing, and ultimately the fbclid, the server set cookie, will still be in place. So that's the answer. Simon, I see in your new setup assistant that there are some transformations already set up on begin, checkout, and purchase. So how you already allowed for this gclid removal in setup assistant? Your demo shows the conversion linker tag is used, so would these transformations need to be amended to include conversion linker in the transformation? Simon, the response is two parts. What you already see in terms of transformations in the setup assistant is for Shopify specifically, and you kind of have that as a sort of an artifact for other e-commerce platforms as well. That covers the Shopify limitations where the cookies are stripped because you are firing events from a sandbox. Therefore, we need to pass them in the payload. So what you have seen in the setup assistant addresses that specifically. Now, why we can't do the gclid transformation for you in the setup assistant is because I don't know which sort of name you're going to use, right? Maybe we can do it as another input on the setup assistant. We'll think about it, but again, fairly easy for you to add into the existing setup. But that's a very good question, so thank you for that. Anonymous attendee. In principle, stripping click IDs from the URL sounds concerning, but practically, how much will this affect conversion tracking? There have been multiple articles saying opposite things regarding how much these efforts from Apple will actually change things. Thanks. Right. Again, so far, the effect is very limited. First and foremost, because this only applies in private mode, right? And by default, your average Joe just opens the browser, doesn't care, doesn't know what private mode is and everything. So that's one reason why the effect is limited. The other reason why the effect is limited is because, again, all of those advertising platforms, Google first and foremost, have their other mechanisms to kind of deal with it because nobody expects you to be clever enough or invested enough to be doing these hacks we're talking about here today. So for instance, Google has two other cookies. There's a W braid, there's a G braid. Google and other advertising cabinets, they allow you to push PII, first party data, right? Emails and such, which will also help with attribution, effectively compensating for the lack of click IDs where, when they're not there. So yes, the impact is maybe not dramatic, but like I said, the impact may be growing going forward because at some point Apple will say, okay, this is now a default setting, like we've seen in Brave. That's not private mode or anything. And so the impact will gradually kind of increase. So yeah, this is not a tragedy or anything. You will probably be fine if you don't do it. But if you do serious budgets with your campaigns, if you're like a perfectionist like that, again, given that the fix is very, very, very easy, I think it still makes sense to do it, even if the uplift ultimately is not that like large. This is only useful for GA4 for channel attribution, right? Because you can recover conversion, yes, with enhanced conversion without cookies, right? Well, yes, Miguel, yes and no. I don't know. Sometimes you cannot send PII in certain instances, right? Maybe that's not a common place, but not always. And then even when you're sending PII with enhanced conversions, it's not definitive that that PII will ultimately be matched to a campaign. That also depends. That's not a 100% thing. So yes and no. I wouldn't say this is for GA4. I'm not even thinking GA4 here. I'm mostly thinking about Google Ads and attribution there. Uh, but I already went on about this compensatory mechanisms. So yeah, they are in place, but still, you can be on top of that, and the fix is dirt easy. Same fix goes from Microsoft, right? Because the screenshot from the post only mentions Google, but earlier the slide said, yes, Microsoft as well. I'm not going to show this to you today because I didn't prepare, but you can do the same sort of thing. You can reference the click ID in Microsoft and assign it to a custom parameter. So yes. Can I see the webinar registration? Where? Alessandro, I'm not sure what you mean by
I think
registration.
it's recording.
Oh,
Recording.
recording. Yes. So everyone who's an attendee will receive a follow-up email. It will have all of the, it will have a link to the recording. It will have the links to the guides and materials. So we got you covered there. I just wanted to say hi to Den. Hi, Serial. It's exciting to see you here, actually. Where did you where did you win the GTM logo? I ordered it for like $10 from some guy, so no, it has nothing to do with Google. That's just my fantasy. Last ITP stated 7-day max cookie if server-side IP not same as the website, right? Yes, Patrice, this is correct. There's two remedies to that. You can do same origin via Cloudflare or your Nginx or some other CDN provider, or you can also use our cookie keeper. I urge you to go to our YouTube channel. The previous webinar we held was specifically about these things. Do I need one query replace a variable per service or one for all? It depends on how you want to set up your work. I've currently created one variable. Yeah, but you can do you can do you can do it all in one transformation. That's pretty much a sort of a choice of taste, right? You can do it in a single transformation. Doesn't matter because it will be replacing all of the relevant parameters if they are there. You probably will apply the transformation to different text though, depending on what platform it is. So maybe it makes sense to have a couple, not to apply it to everything. But then again, ultimately, it's more of a your style sort of thing rather than a technical concern because either way would work okay. Alan, not sure if we need the wbraid gbraid if we already have gclid to report offline CRM ads conversion. In my case, user lands on site via gads. He clicks on BA button to start a conversation. Later, he becomes a lead. How should I report this to gads? If by later, okay, I also have an integration with GHL via your Stape app. If this helps for the answer. The moment the user writes us on a VA, we become a contact and opportunity in GHL. So what you want to do is you want your GHL when go high level, when this lead is created off of that click or anything, you want to also grab the cookies, right? Essentially, you want to grab the click ID, either from a cookie or from the URL itself. So when you report back through our app or not through our app, doesn't matter. When you report that conversion back at the moment where your lead becomes a qualified lead, you want that profile record to have their original click ID. That way, once you report it back to offline Google Ads via our app plus the tag, you can expect there to be that gclid. And if you have gbraid or wbraid, that's also good. Like Google accepts all three if you have them, right? The gclid again is the simplest one, the most rudimentary one. The more you can push, the better. Your best sort of best case scenario is you want to push all three parameters plus the PII plus the everything to give Google all the ammunition to attribute that conversion if you wanted to. Simon, further to that setup assistant question, we use WooCommerce who had selected this our e-commerce platform. So does this mean that your transformation already there would need to be removed and replaced with gclid solution? They don't conflict with each other. If you're on WooCommerce, those two transformations can indeed be removed because they don't do much for you. On the other hand, they're not, they're not screwing with your stuff anyway, so they're not making things better. They're just kind of blanks. But do you have to replace them with the gclid solution? Well, not replace per se, but yeah, gclid solution is not there, so you want to implement it on top. Big question. Where can I buy a beautiful Stape t-shirt? You cannot buy them. They are not for sale, but if you can catch us on any of the offline events, such as Measure Camps, which we sponsor plenty, you can find us and nag someone to give you one. We distribute them mostly on events. Can the EMQ for page view be 8 plus? I mean, yes, it can. In principle, in practice, probably not. EMQ for page EMQ in Facebook event match quality score is informed by the presence of PII and the click IDs. So if you have PII available on all of your page views, well, sure, but that's normally not the case. So no, not really. I think the normal is something like 4.5, 4.8. If you're heavy into Facebook advertising, meaning there's a lot of click IDs, it can be something like 6. But 8 plus, maybe in very specific cases, maybe on some landing pages where you like identify everyone, but again, not likely. Lorenzo, slightly out of topic, but is a custom subdomain mandatory for setting up a same origin setup? I couldn't just custom load the GTM container for the same origin reverse proxy, but yes, but your reverse proxy still needs to point somewhere, right? It doesn't have to be your custom subdomain. It can be the state provided basic native, whatever you want to call it, domain. So long as you configure same origin correctly, yeah, it essentially doesn't matter to which ultimate domain it points because all the magic is in the worker in the same origin part. So yeah, you are correct there. You don't really need a separate DNS record for that. Does Stape store request count towards the package on Stape? Is it possible to get all data in one Stape request and then parse the variable instead of making 5 separate requests to the store? Yes, your usage of Stape store goes towards your normal quota. Is it possible to get all data? It is possible if you organize your data accordingly, right? So the simple hack would be don't write individual fields, write an object, pull an object, deal with it however you want to, and that will ultimately be a single request. Can we get a webinar for multi-domain setup where one is a Shopify? I appreciate these webinars. They are awesome. Well, thank you very much. Multi-domain was either previous or one before that. The approach is not different for Shopify versus non-Shopify. So you can check the recording on the YouTube and just like kind of apply that to your case. Off topic, do you have some great news regarding Stape Store updates? Oh, I mean, I don't know if I'm allowed to spoil that, but yeah, there are some big updates coming, and just stay tuned because I don't want to overpromise or anything. But definitely, there's more functionality coming to Stape Store. I think I've already mentioned this on some events offline, so yeah, there will be a ton of goodness there. Stay tuned. Whew. There's no more open questions. I think I did everything. So unless you guys have more, thank you very much for the intention. Would be nice to be able to have a few features to change the loading path for GA4 ad blocker bypass. Uh, why though? Like it will, if you're using same origin, it will download through same origin. I don't know why you would want to customize that, but maybe you have some specific case in mind. Reach out to us. I'll be interested to hear you out. Okay, I think we can conclude with this. Thanks everyone for the intention. I hope this was somewhat insightful. Please give some love to the guys in Q&A because they've been answering you heavily, I can see. And yeah, stay tuned for more updates. We'll see you on the next webinar, roughly in a month. Cheers and goodbye.